Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And if you are tuning in today, you are probably smarter than the average bear. Just want to remind you all, don't forget, tomorrow is yet another installment of a weekly gas strike, so please do not buy any gasoline tomorrow if you possibly can. If you want to take it further, and a lot of people did last week, don't drive your vehicles, don't drive your car, bike, foot, public transportation, or whatever it is that you can do to, stay off the roads. It's actually slightly impossible for me because I drive a car for my living, and that really sucks. As much pain and discomfort as that makes me feel, I can't really do anything about it at the moment. I have to pay my bills. Anyways, but I'm not going to buy gas tomorrow. So, the thing to do, if you have to do any driving, is to fill up today, or, if you can make it through tomorrow, get some gas the day after. I will link the gas strike page below in the description box, which I have done every single day. So yeah, do what you can. Also, tomorrow is going to be yet another installment of a global climate strike. Promising to be bigger than last week's on the 20th, the strike, but we'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to be bigger or smaller, the same. Hopefully bigger. I'm going to be tomorrow. I'm really going to make a serious attempt at covering the action going on with Extinction Rebellion in Los Angeles. It's actually going to be in Beverly Hills at the Brazilian consulate between 10:30 and 2:30 p.m. 10:30 in the morning to 2:30 p.m. So if you can make it out there, if you're in LA and you make it out there, I hope to see you there. I will try and start a live broadcast at 1 p.m. If I don't make it out there, I will be doing a live stream from here, from the studio at 1 p.m. So either way, tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and I will see you then, hopefully from the Brazilian consulate. So let's get into some climate change news. Today is far from the end. A climate general strike is coming. It's from Truth Out, from Shane Burley. This is from last Friday. In the last few weeks, we have seen the burning of the Amazon rainforest, the complete obliteration of one of Iceland's glaciers, and predictions about the impending collapse of the social political system, all the effect of an ongoing climate catastrophe. However, this week we have also seen a strong resistance to the climate crisis. To demand immediate action on climate change, the newly formed Earth Strike movement is using one of the most traditional organizing tactics in the labor movement's playbook, refusing to work or participate in society. I'm actually building up to that. I'm hoping on these gas strike Fridays that eventually I will just not be working. I will be sitting out at least my workday on this Fridays, but I'm not there yet. It would takes a little bit of rearranging of my life on that. Organizations aligned with Earth Strike, including Greenpeace and 350.org, are endorsing the first ever international general strike for climate on September 27th. That's tomorrow, in which activists will walk out of school and work, suspend commercial operations, and boycott banks. Activists are also planning a series of direct actions and interventions, many of which will be a surprise since they are being organized regionally. During a week of action beginning September 20th in conjunction with the United Nations Climate Change Summit to pressure international agencies to take immediate dramatic action on climate change. Earth Strike, launched in January, is building relationships at the regional level along with organizing other efforts around milestones such as Earth Day and May Day. The goal is to see global action on climate change in a way we've never really attempted. International coordination to address the climate crisis as a threat to the survival of all societies, and activists with Earth Strike are doing this using visible actions and horizontal organizing styles. Because it has a somewhat decentralized approach, Earth Strike is made up of dozens of chapters across the U.S., Europe, Australia, Asia, and Africa. The movement coordinates multiple teams to work on different tasks, such as social media, research and creating, writing, and graphic design. all of which utilize mass communication tools to allow action to echo as widely as possible and to create a built-in recruitment mechanism. While everyone is being called to join the strike, youth have had a special role in these movements since they were, in essence, the demographic to first take on this tactic with the Fridays for Future school strikes. If we do nothing, the sixth mass extinction will come to include. I just cannot read the sentence. Will come to include humans. Though many of us might have passed on before our species' extinction occurs, the ones who will endure the brunt of the destruction are the youth, the indigenous, and the poor, said Andrea Shaw, a New York City-based organizer for Earth Strike. Shaw told Truth Out as strikes became organizers' tactic of choice. Tactic of choice because striking halts work. The economy and school. Strikes are a loud and powerful mechanism that empowers and encourages the people to take action and act with sovereignty. Shaw said the movement has gained the support from a number of major labor unions, but is unable to release the names of those that have agreed to strike on September 27th. Ooh, intrigue, since general strikes are illegal in the U.S. Oh. Very interesting. I'll be very interested to see what happens tomorrow. Earth Strike's key demands, which are shared by many of the supporting organizations, include an unambiguous and binding international commitment to zero net emissions by 2050. It's taking a long time to get there, but we'll call that a start. Halting the destruction of the rainforest and holding corporations accountable for their pollution. Best way to do that is shut them down. Close the doors. Close up shop. Pack it in. Attempting to broaden the effort's scope, Earth Strike organizers have also set up a committee to make the movement intersectional with other types of interpersonal and institutional oppression. This has meant joining migrants' rights actions in coalition with groups like the Cosecha movement. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Joining actions in solidarity with striking workers at places like Amazon and student walkouts at universities like Arizona State University. With nationwide coordination, the movement could become a key pressure point to ensure that presidential candidates and other policymakers act on their climate promises. There have even been a number of tech companies that have bought into action, including Tumblr and WordPress, as well as tech advocacy organizations like Fight for the Future. These groups see that these are intersecting issues, and technology will play a key role in organizing communities and combating climate change. I actually agree with that. I know that technology in general is contributing to the climate problem, but I think it's probably one of the infrastructures that we need to keep in place for as long as possible. The internet and the ability to organize and communicate globally will actually help people stay local and regional if we can, talk to each other and conduct business and whatnot without getting on a plane or getting on a boat or driving a car, et cetera, et cetera. The internet is very helpful. Imagine if somebody invented a solar-powered laptop. Doesn't that already exist? I don't know. Maybe somewhere. Why doesn't everybody have this? Anyways, with nationwide coordination, the movement could become a key pressure point. Anyways, I read that. Still, the question remains whether the strategy will work to shift the severity. I do realize that all the things that you store, all the servers that are necessary to run the internet don't run on solar power, but some of them do, not all of them. It's pretty carbon intensive to store all the things that we need to store. That ultimately will be determined by the strike's participation and how much buy-in outside organizations end up having. Just as with movements like Extinction Rebellion, such a disruption is intended to trigger a mass intervention by both governmental and non-governmental bodies. This will have to come from a coordinated and consistent pressure campaign numbering in the millions. If youth-led strikes can set the trend now, then a new generation can adopt these tactics, creating a new standard for activism that forces policymakers to act. Additionally, Earth Strike organizers have gotten support from Greta Thunberg, the Swedish teenager who entered the spotlight after staging her own 3-week strike at the Swedish parliament to protest policymakers in action and whose actions sparked the Fridays for Future rallies and strikes by youth each Friday. Our system allows the costs and harms of maintaining our current system to be shifted into the future, said Callan Benson, an organizer with Fridays for Future. Youth are particularly well suited to challenge this inequity. We draw attention to the climate crisis by striking from school and taking other actions to show that what is of primary importance to preparing for our future is to demand action now to protect our future. The strategy has resulted in the Secretary General of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries to state, or OPEC, to state that climate activists are perhaps the greatest threat to the oil industry going forward. Well, yes, we are. Fridays for Future have been organizing these strikes in the U.S. since December 7th, 2018, and have been coordinating with other similar efforts across the world. Since then, there have been around 3,500 of these strike actions globally, with 367 of those in the U.S. at the time Truth Out spoke to Benson. Organizers are hoping to enhance the impact of the strikes by focusing on areas where they can be most effective, both in terms of the leverage and population. Schools in particular provide a major strategic advantage, according to Benson. School strikes are a good tactical choice because they demonstrate students' commitment to personal sacrifice to bring attention to the climate crisis, she said. Truancy demands a considered response from our society, but as students, we are no longer better off in school than we are demanding action to protect our future. We need to change now to cease increases in fossil fuel use and to put us on a path to reduce emissions to net zero. Of course, those changes will affect our future, and we need to make changes which will provide a just, equitable, and peaceful future for everyone in the future. Hope you all enjoyed that. Didn't think that was going to be as long as it was, but now I'm going to read this article. This is from September 25th, a few days ago, by Rebecca Hersher, and apparently there's been a new UN report. Earth's oceans are getting hotter and higher, and it's accelerating. And we all knew this or know that this is an ongoing situation. As the world's climate changes, ocean warming is accelerating and sea levels are rising more quickly, warns a new report by the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The report is a synthesis of the most up-to-date climate science on oceans and ice, and it lays out a stark reality. Ocean surface temperatures have been warming steadily since 1970. And for the past 25 years or so, they've been warming twice as fast. Sea levels are also, see graph here, as shown here. Sea levels are also rising increasingly quickly due to the increasing rates of ice loss from the Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets, the report states. For me, it's the complete picture that's kind of surprising and frankly concerning, says Co Barrett, vice chair of the UN panel and deputy assistant administrator for the research at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in the U.S. This is in some ways a report about water. Water is the lifeblood of the planet. The report also discusses a relatively new phenomenon in the oceans, marine heat waves, otherwise known as the blob in the Pacific Northwest, which was going on for quite a long time a few years ago and now seems to be back. It's sort of remarkable that prior to 2013 or 2012 or 2013, nobody had thought about heat waves in the ocean, said Andrew Pershing, chief scientific officer at the Gulf of Maine Research Institute in Portland, Maine. And then in 2012, we had a huge event here in the Northwest Atlantic, and the Gulf of Maine was right at the center of it. It was a real surprise. The abnormally hot water affected animals that live off the coast of Maine, including a lobster and other creatures that are crucial to the local fishing economy. What's more, quickly became clear that the state wasn't alone. We've actually had three major heat waves in the Gulf of Maine, 2012, 16, and 18, and now we're looking at repeat heat waves in the northern Pacific, or Persific, if you want to pronounce it like that. Australia's had some repeat heat waves as well, so it's really becoming part of the conversation in oceanography. Abnormally hot water supported blooms of algae that polluted the Dungeness crab fishery on the west coast, shutting it down for months. Meanwhile, the so-called blob of hot water off the coast was associated with drought on land, which decimated salmon runs, raised the risk of wildfires, and strained water resources inland. Rising water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico are also affecting the region, creating bigger storms, etc. Yeah, so, basically, they're continuing with the line of awareness and knowledge that things are bad and they're accelerating. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.